On this episode of Quantum Week, November 7th through 13th, 1999.
Quantum Week. Quantum Week.
Welcome to Quantum Week. Quantum Week is a show in which Briggs and I leap into a random week of a random year, and we talk about the hit movies, the hit songs, the headlines of that week. And on this show, our week that we are covering, that we leapt into, is November 7th through 13th, 1999. And we are covering The Insider for the movie and Learn to Fly the song. Briggs.
Yeah. 1999. Yeah, The Insider. Pretty good movie, I thought.
Oh, God. I mean, yeah, so I like Michael Mann as a director.
Yeah, he's good.
He's good, and I'd have to say, I kind of, for a long time, I thought Collateral was my favorite Mann. Did you ever see that one with Jamie Foxx?
No, I haven't seen it.
Phenomenal movie. Highly recommended if you haven't. Jamie Foxx, Tom Cruise. Basically, Tom Cruise is a hitman, and Jamie Foxx is like he's either a cab driver or just a driver. And he drives this hitman around the whole night, and it's just crazy. But love that movie. It's just, it's really nicely stylized. Tom Cruise has got his platinum hair. It's crazy. But this might be better. I don't know. It's sort of a toss-up. I haven't seen Collateral in maybe like 10 years at this point. So It's hard to remember. But I really like this movie a lot. In fact, I think we should give our letter grades like right off the bat. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah.
I'll give mine. I'm flirting between an A- and A. I think I'm A, like low A, like 90, 94, 95.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think?
Gotcha. I went B+. B+. Excellent movie. It's just not really, it's not my style of movie that I would typically watch, but it's a pretty good movie, you know?
Yeah. What do you think stylistically doesn't hit for you? Or like what would you be more into?
I mean, I'm just not super into like a politically drama kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's just not, not typically interesting to me, especially, when a movie is, 2.5 hours long.
It is a long one. Yeah.
But for a 2.5 hour movie about a whistleblower in the tobacco industry, damn, this is a good movie.
And
it was really good.
It held my attention.
It was really good.
Yeah, held my attention.
For sure.
And right, exactly. Under these circumstances, you add up all the things that you just said, and to me, if you just wrote that down on paper and I looked at it, I'd be like, that's not something that I'd be really interested in.
I wouldn't. And I had not seen this movie before. Yeah, I don't know if you have, and I probably would not have seen it based on like reading the description.
Right.
But it was great.
But it's great, surprisingly good, based, just a very dry topic. I think like one of the things that struck me is Michael Mann's ability to hold tension throughout this entire movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It just like, it really builds. And there's a number of reasons for that, I think. But one of the main ones for me, like I don't always, as a musician, you'd think I would notice the score, but I don't always notice the score. And maybe that's a good thing too. Sometimes it doesn't get in the way.
Sure.
But I noticed this one, like them just droning on a like for a while, and you're just like, it just tensed me out. I'm like, you just think something impending, like some sort of doom is going to happen at any time.
It's kind of the point, right? I mean,
it is.
So Russell Crowe plays Jeffrey Wigand.
Yeah, that's right.
The former tobacco executive turned whistleblower.
Yeah,
who lets the cat out of the bag about the tobacco companies actively making cigarettes more addictive and more harmful to get people to buy more or, get addicted easier. So there's a lot of tension there. The tobacco industry has a lot of power. I mean, and they definitely conveyed that pretty well, I thought. The pacing of the movie was great.
Yeah.
I was surprised for such a long movie. It didn't drag, really, I felt.
No.
It's kind of in like two halves almost.
It is.
With the first half, focusing mostly on the Russell Crowe character, who was great at, by the way. Russell Crowe was really good as Jeffrey Wigand, I thought.
Yeah.
And they, he had to do a lot of makeup and stuff like that. I guess he was like, Russell Crowe's like early 30s, and this Wigand guy, when at the time was in his 50s, so they had to silver up his hair and they put like wrinkles and liver spots on him and stuff. But he looked good. He gained like 30 or 40 pounds, I think, for the role.
Yep.
But he looked good, and he played a stressed out guy pretty good.
He really did. It's funny because the movie right before this, I think that he did or maybe one or two movies before this, was L.A. Confidential. I don't know if you remember, if you saw that one, but it's I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies from the time period. And in a similar situation, he plays like another quiet guy, like that still has a lot of tension or a lot of anger to him in that one, but it's totally different because he plays his character in LA Confidential is like not a smart guy. He's just kind of like, he's sort of an enforcer guy who does have a good heart. But this guy, he plays kind of the similar type of character, quiet, reserved, intense character, but super smart this time. And the fact that he can, that he has the range to do both of those things is phenomenal. He has a huge run, which we can talk about later. I still want to talk about the movie before Russell Crowe, but he has like a great run right here, in the late 90s, early 2000s. That's pretty phenomenal. But yeah, and I think they cast him the right way too. I know that they were, a hero of the show. They wanted to get maybe Val Kilmer in here, but
which I don't think would have been as good.
I was thinking about that. Val's
I don't think he'd be as believable as kind of an everyman. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like Russell, maybe he's too good looking or something. I don't know, or too Hollywood looking. I'm not sure. But I feel like the Russell Crowe played a good kind of schlubby sort of regular nerd.
Right, because you can age him out, and he can gain weight. He's a bigger guy anyway, but when he's not when he adds a layer of fat on there, he looks a little bit more everymanish. I think you're right. Acting chop wise, I could see it because Val I think has a pretty good range too. But
I'm sure he could do it. I don't want to poo Val.
You can poo.
He's a good.
This is your opinion.
Yeah, no, I think he's a good actor. I just think that Russell Crowe's a better casting fit. For this character.
Agreed. Yeah. So tension throughout. And I think Mann did a really good job with this too, and not going too far, because this could have really gone into a very farcical space if suddenly you've got an army of tobacco company mercenaries who are kicking in doors and shooting at him, and he's got to escape with one kid under each arm and all that. It didn't get like that.
It didn't go into camp territory, I don't think. No, but they definitely, the watchful eye of the tobacco company on him, and then kind of quietly ruining his life step by step.
Yes.
It was pretty tense, and it was well done, and it kept your attention as well. Yeah,
tense, and it was the psychological devastation that they were doing. Just knowing that he was being watched, just knowing he was being followed, and then progressing into the character assassination, where you've got investigators digging into his past life and trying to get these publications to Wall Street Journal to run with that. So. Yeah, they did just such a good job. It never felt like, sometimes when you see the political or the corporate espionage-ish shows or movies, it can get to the point where you're like, no, this is gunfights. I mean, he's a scientist,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh.
So, and I mean,
even though he was a target shooter in this movie, he had a bunch of guns, and that kind of was a plot device too.
Yeah, that's true.
But there weren't any typical action scenes in this movie.
No, they never took it over the top. They stayed at a nice,
which was, I think, a good choice.
Yeah. So it makes you really I feel like there wasn't a lot of. They didn't really deconstruct big tobacco a lot either in this movie, which I was a little bit surprised with. It's not sometimes with this type of thing, like Aaron Brockovich, I'm thinking of, where I can't remember what type of company, but it's chemical waste, and they really go down kind of the list of all these sort of crimes they do. You don't really get a lot of that in this movie. You just sort of accept it that. They sort of explain, additive to the cigarettes to make the nicotine more potent, and more addictive. But that's not like a lot of times it'll sort of list. You'll spend 10 minutes or 20 minutes on all their crimes. They don't even really do that. They just show them lying, talk about what they've done, and that's maybe 5 minutes of the movie.
I think that was a good choice too, because I mean, come on, everyone knows that cigarettes aren't good for you, right? And especially after this came out, right? It was in the zeitgeist that yes, they did lie about it, and yes, they were actively trying to make cigarettes worse for you. But everyone has known for decades that cigarettes are bad for you. So everyone who watches the movie is prepared with that information beforehand.
It's not
unlike maybe the Aaron Brockovich example, where you do need some baseline information to understand the story.
Right.
Cigarettes bad. That's all you really need to know for this.
I think you're right.
They tried to make them worse.
Yeah, it's not like we needed,
at least that's how I interpreted it anyways.
It's not like we needed the court case in order to prove it to us. we knew
Right.
that cigarettes were bad, so they could just move
Yeah.
on from that. Okay, that makes sense.
Totally.
I also found that the movie did a really interesting job with keeping your attention because they weren't always explicit about stuff. Like I had to ask, there was a few times, especially in the beginning, I didn't necessarily know what was going on right away. Like, did you know in the first scene,
I was super confused.
I was confused because he's walking out of the company, right? You don't know that he's fired yet. Like
Right.
you don't know. He just goes home and does his thing, and I don't think we know until he talks to his wife, right? It's like
Right.
sometime in, I don't know, it's minutes later that we find out that the guy's been fired.
Well, this also kind of comes after the prologue too, which was a little disorienting. You know, it's a cool scene with Al Pacino.
Oh my God.
You know, trying to talk to the Sheik or whoever it was.
Yeah, the founder of Hezbollah or something.
Yeah, that's what it was. But I was like, I thought this movie was about cigarettes.
I stopped the movie because I rented it through Prime or something, like Prime Video.
Okay.
So I rented it and I was like, did I get the right one? Is there
Right.
another one
Yeah.
on the Insider? And then because the other thing that it did was like list all these actors' names that I wasn't familiar with. I didn't see Pacino. I didn't see Russell Crowe.
Right.
I didn't see anybody. I'm like, who is that person?
Yeah.
So maybe I just missed that part of the credits or it came later. I don't know. But yeah, I was questioning too. It was very confusing. And then, here we go. There's Al Pacino. So we're in the right place.
Right.
But that was super effective though. And I was thinking a lot about that too. Like why we start there. Like what did you think about that?
I thought that they were trying to set the mood of the Al Pacino character as this like really good, hard-hitting journalist who always gets the interview and, you know, gets the job done, and he's the best of the best, and he's been in all these crazy situations. So it's kind of vetting Al Pacino or as Lowell Bergman, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I mean, just kind of establish him as the professional that he is.
I think you're right because later on you see Russell Crowe question him, like, did you sell me out? And
he's very offended.
He's angry.
By
Yeah,
that.
he's like, I've never, whatever, never.
Because his integrity is huge as a journalist, and I thought that the opening scene was trying to show that and how he worked with people to get the interview even when they didn't want to do it.
Right. Right, because I think also Mann kind of leaves it up to interpretation on whether or not he was manipulating, Wygand, like whether or not. Because
I mean, he certainly was, right? He's kind of like, come on. He's like, I'm not going to tell you to confess, but it would be cooler if you did.
Right.
You know, it's a lot of that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you kind of have to be okay with that, or they sort of have to make up for that. You know, maybe a hit to his integrity with other parts of it. Like, so the other things that I was thinking about in terms of establishing him as a decent human being in that opening scene is it also shows he doesn't back down from a fight. Like he's not going to just roll over if he's got a little bit of pressure on him. He's in the middle of Hezbollah. Like there's people with automatic weapons around him.
Blindfolded and
while he's having a fight, with the guards of the Sheikh. I mean,
but he gets the story in the end, and that's kind of what I thought they were trying to convey is, no matter what, he'll go to extremes to get the job done.
Yeah, but you also have to wonder if he actually cares about Wygand too, though.
Sure.
Because you're like, is he just doing this as just for not even shock value? Or no, he's not like the Inquirer, but is he doing it because the story? But is he also doing it because he thinks that Wygand is doing something heroic? And so I think the beginning helps establish him as someone who would pursue something because it's the right thing to do and would support Wygand just because, he's doing a heroic thing, which Wygand, he is doing a heroic thing. Like he's got a lot of pressure, loses his family over it, which we'll talk about that wife in a moment too. Loses his job, his beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood, has to go to teaching, which he seems happy with, but still it's like a different thing. You're a scientist, you know how it is to go into the public sector, I guess. I don't know, but
he was apparently good at it. The real Wygand, I guess, won like a Teacher of the Year award or something like that. So he was good at it.
Yeah, I'm sure he was good at it. I mean, he's a smart guy, whatever. But yeah, he's got everything on the line, and Pacino's character, he doesn't. I mean, Bergman doesn't have the same amount on the line. I mean, he ends up quitting his job, but he's got his integrity, he's got a good career. It's not like
Sure.
his character was getting assassinated over this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But you did see, I think, like the other part is he fought so hard, not just for the story. Like he knew that CBS News was screwing Wygand over by
Sure.
not doing this thing, like getting him and he. But the other part of it though is Bergman's he's making promises he can't keep. Like he doesn't have the ultimate say of whether this thing is going to air or not. Like he's the producer,
Right.
so he's got a big swinging dick here, but he's not like the most.
Sure.
He doesn't have the final say. Obviously, like Wallace is going to be above him.
Yep.
It's his show, it's his face on the thing, and then
But then there were people above Wallace as well.
even people above him. So he's making promises of this thing going to be air and getting and getting Wygand to do stuff like go on the record and break his confidentiality agreement, break his
Right.
word, basically, without really being able to guarantee anything. And so Wygand goes into it kind of thinking there's a guarantee. So
Sure. He certainly makes it seem that way. And I think from Al Pacino character's perspective, like all of his the vast majority of his other stories had been aired, right?
it worked, right?
So why would he assume that this one in particular would not be aired, Because it seemed like he believed in Wallace and CBS's commitment to journalistic integrity.
Exactly.
Until that point.
Where
they said, we are not airing this piece.
Yeah. So let's go back to what I was asking before, or talking about before, in terms of you have to put the pieces of the puzzle together a little bit. So you're right. It starts with this thing there. I don't even know. They're probably in Lebanon, I think, meeting with the sheikh, and that's all crazy. Then they come home and we see Wygand leaving. What's the company name? It's like Brown and Williams or something. Is that the cigarette company?
Brown and Williamson.
Brown and Williamson, the cigarette company. And we don't really know why. So that kind of, doing that, you don't know why, and you don't see that he's lost his job right away. So you're not exactly
Right.
sure what's going on. So you have to piece these things together. And then what happens is Bergman approaches Wygand to have him be a kind of expert witness or give him expert consultation on this chemistry document from another cigarette company.
Right.
Let me ask you this. Did it make sense to you how hard, I didn't get this at first, how hard Bergman how hard he was trying to get Wygand to work with him on that project? Do you think that it didn't quite make sense to me? I mean, he flew to where Wygand lived. He's I think presumably from California. I saw his kids had Cal sweatshirts on or something to go to, I don't know where, somewhere in the South, I think is where Wygand was living, maybe Kentucky or something, or the Carolinas. But it seemed weird that he was pursuing it. He didn't know right off that Wygand had all this inside information. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, it did seem a little weird. So, yeah, why was he so insistent on getting Wygand if he didn't know that he knew all the inside scoop on the tobacco industry?
So you kind of have to put that together. And so I was thinking about it. I was like, well, maybe you just can't find an expert witness who was former tobacco company that would be willing to talk, even in this capacity.
Right. So anyone is good, right?
Yeah.
But also, I mean, if he worked for 60 Minutes, right? So they have a lot of money to spend. So he presumably just had a budget to do what he felt was right, and flying out to see a guy ain't no thing if you got 60 Minutes money. Maybe.
I guess that's true. Yeah, but it took me a little bit to piece that together, because then
I kind of just went with that part,
Right.
and then they started explaining things. I'm like, okay, now I'm getting it. And I just kind of suspended my disbelief over that bit.
But it gets to be crucial, when they meet in that hotel room,
Right.
because it's so cloak and dagger, Wygand, meet me in this place, and it kind of gives them a signal.
I'll be reading the newspaper or whatever.
And they get into an elevator together, go up to a room, but Wygand's sketched out. It's who's at the door? Well, it's room service. I mean, and Bergman's not really, I don't think he understands right away why he's freaked out, but then quickly is on it and sees that Wygand is holding something back. That whole scene is super crucial to this, because you have to understand why Bergman really wants to talk and starts pushing.
Then he knows, right.
Then he knows, but they do. I think that holds your attention though, because well, first of all, Mann doing it this way respects us that we can figure some shit out. That's a respect to the audience type of thing. But it's also it holds your attention because you have to think about it. You have to like try to like suss this out a little bit. So you're like, what the hell is going on? And helps you remain in the story, even though it's on paper not the most exciting thing to talk about. Yeah,
it was pretty engaging throughout. It was definitely a good choice.
I think so. And I think Mann just does a really great job with tension. Collateral, as I mentioned before, so there's a lot of tension throughout that entire movie as well. He's just really good. He comes from Miami Vice, one of his like earliest projects. And he redid the movie in the 2000s as well. Yes. But it has that, I don't know. He just, I think that show also did a pretty good job with creating some suspense and keeping you involved in the plot. But okay, so I wanted to ask. Well, I have a bunch of things. I have a bunch of questions.
Okay,
what do you think about this wife?
Do you mean the character or the actor, or like what do you mean?
Yeah, what do you think about her leaving Weigand in the middle of like his shitstorm and
Right. I think she was legitimately scared for her life.
You think it was life? She was scared for her life.
Yeah, I mean, they were sending him death threats on, it's kind of some funny looking dated computer stuff. So the movie's from 1999, but it takes place in 1995, I think.
Yes.
Or a mid 90s looking computer there, and then he got the death threats, and it's like, we will kill you all.
With like skull on it.
That, and, yeah, exactly, which is kind of cheesy.
Super cheesy.
But I mean, still though, if you receive that and you have kids and you know that your husband worked for Big Tobacco, who certainly has the means to put a hit on someone, and they definitely were threatening him.
They were
a lot.
Yeah, they were.
So I feel like her leaving is justifiable.
Okay.
I'm sure in reality it's not as simple as that. They're probably having problems anyways. And, she was freaking out because they didn't have the money or the health insurance or everything. So was he. They were all freaking out. He lost his job. They had to move out of that house, like you were saying.
Yep.
He had to get a job as a teacher so he can get insurance for his kids. And one of the kids has like bad asthma or something. And and they established that in the movie with the scene where the kid's turning blue and choking out and whatever.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you're afraid that your kids are going to be injured and yourself, I mean, I think it's justifiable that she left him.
I kind of went back and forth on this because I think, okay, so that's the only reason. If she legitimately feared for the life of her kids, then I could
and herself. I thought it was all of that.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. If she legitimately was afraid that they were going to kill his kill her and the kids, then that's really the only justification for me. Because I started explaining it the other way to myself. I was like, well, if you think about it, it was more of a traditional marriage structure where it is an existential threat. Then if the husband is the sole provider, he loses his job, and you got bills or whatever, maybe you're a little bit extended. So that is an existential threat on its own. But is that enough to like not stand by your husband who's going through crisis? I don't know, because are you going to be better off on your own if that's just simply if that's the threat?
I mean, I thought she just needed to get the hell out of there because, I mean, the threat is on him, right? Like he's the guy. If he talks, they're coming,
right?
So if you're not near him, I mean, maybe they'll go find. They could find her anywhere, presumably, but it would be more work,
Yeah,
because the people were following him around, and like there's that creepy late night golf scene where
that
he's
was
like
weird.
Hitting,
yeah,
I know.
I'm like, geez.
So like they're just they did a really good job of freaking him out.
Yeah,
and it clearly worked on the wife, right?
Okay,
that's how I took it. I thought she just needed to get the hell out of there because it was a little too scary for her and the kids.
I hear you. I guess maybe you start by like going somewhere else and hold up for a while. Maybe don't get a divorce right away, because that just that felt like it was just a real smack. The poor guy, like he just got.
I know, right? It kept getting worse and worse for him.
His career gets totaled. His family leaves him. I mean, his character's assassinated.
Do the character assassination. Yeah,
I mean,
they dig up all of this kind of relatively minor stuff from his past and blow it all out of proportion.
500 pages too. Like that's thorough.
Got in trouble for shoplifting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they did the character assassination for him. You know, they dug up everything from his past, including like some bogus shoplifting charges that they spun out of control in this piece. And so I think the Al Pacino character was helping him out there, though, because he kind of made the Wall Street Journal hold out on the piece, you know, the character assassination thing. So I think he ultimately, Al Pacino character did care about Wygant on a certain level.
I think so.
But, you know, was it purely because he's motivated by the story, or does he have some humanism as well in him? I think it's probably a bit of both. Maybe 60-40 story human.
Maybe.
Because he saw what kept happening to the guy. Like, if Wygant had just walked away and said, okay, I'm not going to talk, I'm done, maybe they wouldn't have messed with him so much.
Yeah, I think Bergman probably has a good sense of right and wrong, though. I mean, he leaves. That's the other thing. He ejects himself from CBS News after the whole thing.
Totally.
It's like you know, like basically he couldn't trust him anymore, you know, to do the right thing. And, you know, for him to dig, and I know how much it pissed his character off, of course, too, when he uncovered the fact that CBS News is trying to get sold to another company, and this could, you know, kill the deal, which some of his superiors would have benefited millions of dollars from if the sale goes through. So, you know, at the end of the day, I guess he's there's a few parts of it, but I do think he has a strong sense of right and wrong and knows that Wygant is getting railroaded. I'm sure also Bergman feels like he's getting railroaded too, because it's his reputation on the line. He worked so hard for it. And like, this is definitely something that the public should know. The public needs to know that they're intentionally trying to make these things more addictive, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
And the Pacino character had to kind of pull out some cards from his pocket there during this, like, because he knows a lot of stuff already. And he's like, oh, you don't want me to get more curious than I am, you know? That's right. And then he drops the knowledge that he knows, and he's like, do you want this stuff to come out? And, you know, it was a cool character, I thought.
Yeah, and I think he did a good job. This is a more understated role for Al Pacino. He's a quieter. He just seems older and more mature here than he does.
But it was still had the typical intensity.
Oh,
but he wasn't like yelling the whole time like in other movies.
He wasn't.
But he was great.
Because he did Heat not too long before this, and he's a little more over. Like he's a little more cartoonish in that. He's a lot more reserved here, which I like when Al Pacino is more intense and less and less overt. I definitely like him as an actor better that way.
Absolutely. I thought the cast overall in general was really good.
It was awesome.
Some standout performances.
Yep. I'm a big Christopher Plummer guy. I think he's awesome.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was really great as Mike Wallace.
Yeah.
Apparently the real Mike Wallace was not impressed.
Yeah, he was a little bitchy. He said that he said 2/3 of the movie was right.
I saw that.
Except for like my character. Except for me, I did not. I was protesting. Like I was protesting. I didn't roll over that fast. Sure you didn't, Mike. Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, apparently though, Michael Mann did try to stick to the facts as much as possible, but him and the other screenwriter, Eric Roth, they both said that they weren't interested in making a documentary.
It makes sense.
So they took some license. Yeah, and it's an engaging movie. And if you did make a documentary, it probably wouldn't have been paced the same. You know, you got to change some stuff. Like, it makes sense. They're making a movie. They made a good movie based on a real story. And I think the important details they kept in.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think you get the essence of all the important stuff that you need to know is kept in there. Like, you don't need the small details or something. Like, we're trying to get...
Exactly.
You know, we don't want to get down into the nitty gritty of like pacing it exactly how it was. But I saw that with Wallace, and I was like, yeah, sure, yeah,
right.
Plummer was so good; he was so fierce in that opening scene against the Sheikh's bodyguards, like just getting right in their face. I'm like, this is 70-something-year-old,
right?
Christopher Plummer, just right up there. Yeah, he's so good. I've always he's always a pleasure when you see him. Who is Michael Mann making the hero of this movie? Because Ebert says something different than I would say. What do you think?
Huh. Oh, I didn't see the Ebert review.
Yeah.
There's two protagonists in this movie, I think, the way I see it. Like, there's Russell Crowe and Al Pacino, and the first half of the movie's focused more on Russell Crowe. Second half is focused more on Al Pacino, and they both kind of have some heroic qualities ascribed to them. Like Russell Crowe as the whistleblower, which is a kind of a selfless act. Like, he clearly ruins his life doing this.
He does.
But then Al Pacino fighting to get the story aired and get the real dirt out there too. So I don't know. What did Ebert say?
Ebert seemed to think that Mann is kind of lionizing the journalists in general, but then Bergman and specifically. So he's kind of the hero, and journalism is kind of the hero of the movie. That was his take.
Sure, journalism is the hero. I see that.
But I don't agree with that. I think it's Russell Crowe is the hero. He's the whistleblower. He's the one that's got everything on the line. Everybody else is not.
Totally.
But I wasn't a lot of times when I see movies that do lionize, that that make the journalists heroic. It turns me off just because I know the history here where you think they're so complicit in so many like catastrophes, and even in our lifetime you think about like the stuff after 9/11 and the Iraq War, even through COVID stuff, the journalists are usually in line with the most powerful spheres of influence on the planet, whether that's the medical industrial complex or the military industrial complex or the the White House or whoever. They're usually like lockstep with them. So when when I start to see journalism is and all this integrity, I get a little frustrated with that. But I wasn't in this movie at all because
I agree.
Because you just see a man, like you see a man. Yeah, you see a man who's trying to do the right thing, and you also see the breakdown at CBS News and how the corporate influence could potentially change what is being said. So I thought that it did.
I mean, they decide, the corporate aspect of it decided what was newsworthy.
Exactly.
And previous to that, they had not been doing that as much, at least according to Lowell Bergman.
Yeah. I mean, maybe.
Or at least it's the first he knows about it.
The first that he knows about it, right. He has a certain picture in his head. But, they showed the flaws here. And so I thought, I had no problem. I didn't get any ick watching this at all.
No, me either.
Yeah. So Russell Crowe gets, first of all, the movie, box office bomb.
Yeah. Lost a lot of money.
30, 40, $50 million maybe?
Right.
Something like that,
yeah.
right?
It was like, I think the final budget was around 90 million and it made maybe 30 something or something like that. Yeah. That's rough. I mean, critically, mega acclaimed. Though. Like nominated for 7 Academy Awards. Right. It's got a 96% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's pretty good.
Yeah. But this did not hold up in the theaters in terms of, in terms of sales. Like I was looking, so the first week that it comes out, and it is 5th. No, it's 6th in line. Is that the first? No. First week, I think it was 3rd, but it lost to Pokemon, The Bone Collector, a few other films. It only grossed $9 million that first weekend. That's like, they must have shit themselves a little bit when they saw that first one,
Yeah. The box office actually was 60 million.
Okay, 60 million.
The budget was estimated at between 68 and 90 million. I don't know why they don't know the actual number.
Well, it was all the marketing and then all sorts of deals.
Yeah, right, sure. But still, either way, it lost a lot of money.
I've been reading this this Hollywood Insider guy I follow on Twitter, and he seemed to say it's actually, you need 3 times the gross in order to get profitable. So if the thing costs you 60 million, you need 180 in there, right? Because you're splitting that with the distributors, and and there's a whole bunch of marketing budget. And
everyone's got to get paid.
Everyone's got to get paid. So I mean, they didn't get anywhere close to that. But the first week they're at 9.5 million, and the second week they're down to 6.5 million. So it didn't go anywhere. I mean, that's rough. But like you said,
I mean, it's kind of a hard sell. Here's a really long movie about the tobacco industry.
Right. Again, bad on paper.
Hey, you want to go out on a Friday night and watch that?
Movie.
Or do you want to go bring the kids to the Pokemon movie?
Right.
It makes sense that was popular.
Yeah, because I mean, I think about my viewing habits, and it's a very rare film that, I mean, especially now, that I would want to see in the theater. I would want to see something that's more of a spectacle in the theater, where you're going to get absorbed and it's going to be experienced. I'm not often going to want to see a drama in the theater because I'm just going to enjoy it that much more, or at the same, at least at home.
Tell you what, though, the cinematography in this movie was pretty good.
It's beautiful.
Like the lighting, it all looks really good.
Yeah.
There's like cool handheld camera stuff that's not too shaky, but it's you can tell that it's not on a dolly or whatever. And I don't know. I thought it looked really good and probably would be cool to see in the theater.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I mean, it takes a lot to get me to a theater these days.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like I
But
saw
in
Dune.
1999, I mean, I wouldn't have gone to see this movie.
I wouldn't have
in
gone to see this.
99.
No way.
It's just not my style.
No.
But I probably would have enjoyed it if I went because it's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, me too. But you just never think about it. Like I saw both Dune films in the theater. I'll go see Furiosa, which is the new Mad Max. I'll see that can out in a week or so. And those are that last Mad Max from, I don't know, 10 years ago was so phenomenal and like such a trip to watch. I got to see Furiosa in the theater as well. And everything I've heard is that it's pretty amazing. But anyway, that type of thing I'll see, or like a sci-fi film, something it's a visual spectacle, but not this. And I think, because who's this for? It's for like people it's for adults. It's, you're in your 30s or 40s. And like how often are you gonna, I don't know. It has a tough target audience to have a budget like that,
right?
Yeah. But critically acclaimed. I mean, yeah. It didn't win any of the Oscars though, which was crazy. I was looking at this. This is a tough year because let me take a look here.
99 is known as a huge year for cinema. Around this time, there's a few. But yeah, it got nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Russell Crowe as Best Actor, Best Screenplay based on material previously produced or published, Best Cinematography, which I thought the cinematography was great.
It's great.
Best Film Editing, and Best Sound.
Yeah.
So a lot of big awards nominated for.
Yeah. So the problem with this year is this is the American Beauty year, and in retrospect, people look at this as like a bit like that's thievery, like that's theft. So American Beauty does not hold up anywhere near. So this is what was nominated for Best Picture. You've got American Beauty, you've got The Cider House Rules, The Green Mile, The Insider, The Sixth Sense. Now, in my opinion, The Sixth Sense is a phenomenal. That's an A movie. I love that movie so much. It's so good. Mm-hmm. The Sixth Sense and The Insider both blow American Beauty out of the way. And I think I haven't seen The Cider House Rules in forever, but I like that movie a lot.
Yeah, me.
Very good film. I don't remember though. Maybe it's not better than American Beauty, but at least these two definitely are. So that was a theft. And then same thing with Best Director. You got Sam Mendes, who I love. Sam Mendes, by the way. 1917, he did a phenomenal movie. Road to Perdition's a phenomenal movie, one of my favorites. Love him. He does the best Bond. He did Skyfall, which is an amazing Bond film. But he shouldn't have won this. He shouldn't have won it. You also got here for Best Director. You've got Being John Malkovich, was one of the most creative movies I've ever seen, and it's amazingly directed by Spike Jonze.
The direction was great. Yeah, totally.
And then you have M. Night Shyamalan and Michael Mann, and so even just the Sixth Sense, the direction for The Sixth Sense, it's such a great, so well done and so well made. Yeah, especially on the budget that they had. To call, I don't know, to give it to American Beauty just kills me. And then you got Kevin Spacey wins, of course, because your buddy Kevin.
It's not my buddy.
No. But he's up against, Russell Crowe gets a nomination but doesn't win.
Yep.
Russell Farnsworth actually gets the
Richard Farnsworth.
Sorry, Richard. Yeah, for The Straight Story, which is
that's kind of weird.
Yeah,
right?
but I love that movie. I mean, it's so good.
Yeah, me too. Just kind of an uncommon nomination there.
Yeah. Michael Caine gets a nomination and wins for The Cider House Rules, so that's good. Tom Cruise actually from Magnolia gets a nomination here. I love that movie as well. But I just think, I think it's better. I think it could have won Best Picture. I think it could have won Best Director. I don't know that anybody did a better job with maybe M. Night Shyamalan.
Russell Crowe could have won Best Actor too. He was great.
He was phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a great run, as I mentioned before, too. I have his run here, too. So he does LA Confidential in, what is that? Okay, this is how, my first recollection of Russell Crowe is The Quick and the Dead, which I love that movie. That's a Sam Raimi Western. It's like it's just so well done. And he's, I think his name is, his actor, he's playing this guy named Court, the gunslinger in that film. So that's 95. Very good movie.
Yep.
He's doing stuff in New Zealand and Australia before this. Right. But he first comes to the United States, I think in 95, and does The Quick and the Dead. Good one to start with. He also does Virtuosity, which is a funny one with Denzel Washington. Did you ever see that? I
forgot about that movie. Yeah, back in the day, I forgot about that.
He's a computer guy. He is a virtual person, right?
Right.
And maybe
I believe so.
Denzel Washington's like trapped in like a virtual world.
That sounds right.
Probably doesn't hold up with the graphics, but it'd be fun to see again. So that's 95. Then he does LA Confidential, great movie in 97. He's so good. Then he does 99, he does Insider, and he's nominated. In 2000, he does Gladiator, get nominated and wins Best Actor. Then 2001, A Beautiful Mind, nominated. Now, then he does Master and Commander. I remember that being very good, but I should see that again. That's 2003. In 2005, Cinderella Man doesn't get nominated, but that's a better movie than Gladiator and A Beautiful Mind. I think Cinderella Man holds up a lot better, and he doesn't get nominated there. But within that 5-6 year span, I mean, he's nominated 3 times. He wins the Academy Award. It's like, he's like the it man.
He's on fire. He's good. I mean, he was great in The Insider. I thought he was really great. And
phenomenal.
It's kind of a shame that he didn't win for Best Actor, I think, because he was pretty damn good.
Yeah, and then after this, he does 3:10 to Yuma, which I love. That's a great Western movie. That's in 2007. Things kind of peter off after that. He does some movies that look good on paper, but he didn't seem to have the same success or the same critical acclaim after this period of time. So he kind of, he comes in like a rocket, and then I don't know, it's been a little quiet since then. Michael Mann, good director. Yeah. Four Oscar nominations just for his like best director. Yep. But he does 92 Last of the Mohicans. That gets one Academy Award nomination, but that's not for him. I can't remember what it is. It might be editing or score or something. Insider, this one, as we talked about before, gets 7 nominations. Does Ali, the Muhammad Ali biopic.
Yep.
I don't remember that being particularly good. I know that Will Smith gets nominated there. I don't know what the other one is. He does Collateral in 2004, which I think is a great movie. That and The Insider, two of the best, I think, of Michael Mann. That gets nominated for 2. And then he just did Ferrari, which
Ferrari movie, yeah. I heard it's supposed to be good. I didn't see it.
I haven't seen it. I'm gonna see it, but I think that's got a nomination too somewhere. Oh no, that's a BAFTA, but still acclaimed. But I should see that one. He does some early movies too that I forgot about. Like he did. Did you ever see Manhunter, which was like the prequel to Silence of the Lambs, Red Dragon?
No, I did not.
Cool movie, but I don't know if it holds up. I haven't seen it in probably 30 years.
Okay.
And then, of course, he does Heat 2, which I'm surprised that got no nominations because that's pretty great movie.
Yep.
Anything else we didn't cover with The Insider? I was really pleasantly surprised. I don't think I ever saw it, or I must have seen it.
I definitely never saw it
so long ago that I don't remember. But it's a great movie.
Great performance by Bruce McGill in that courtroom scene.
Oh yeah.
He was great. Like that was a very memorable scene. Apparently, that's like the real courtroom. They went to the real courtroom where the original deposition happened. It wasn't like a soundstage or something.
Yeah, that's right.
That added an element of reality to it. But that scene with him screaming at the tobacco guys was pretty epic.
I was a little, that was epic. I was also surprised that they used some of the real people too. Like one of what was it? The attorney general or something was the real guy, and like an investigator was the real guy too.
Right.
Which I was like, what happened?
Yeah, Jack Palladino and Mike Moore played themselves.
Yeah, that was a little strange. Oh, yeah. Did you catch too that Roth, the co-writer of this movie, said that when he met Wygand, he did not like him. Did you hear? Did you see?
Yeah,
him say that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Like,
it's kind of. I mean, why'd you need to say that?
It's like unlikable and defensive.
Right. Well, I mean, fair enough, right? I think. Well, when they were interviewing the real Wygand, I think he was still under his non-disclosure agreement, so he couldn't really like tell them too much stuff.
Right. He probably was asked about it forever too. He was probably asked about it so many times that he was like, I'm just a little tired of talking about it. But the movie's about him. I mean,
right.
Help.
But if you can't talk about it, you can't. I mean, if you're still under the gag order or whatever it is. Apparently, Russell Crowe never got to meet the real guy, and he learned how to do him by some 6-hour tape that they had of him talking.
Right. Yeah. I guess that's all I have to say about it. But I highly recommend it. Give it an A, 94-ish on my scale. Not a perfect movie, but pretty damn good. Really good. Highly recommend people watch it.
Yeah.
Final
same.
thoughts
I got
on Insider?
strong B plus is what I'm going for.
Strong
like an
B+.
89 if I had to give it a number grade.
89. That's really strong because A minus territory is 90. I mean, you're right underneath that A minus.
That's what I'm saying.
You're
Yeah,
right there. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, well, Briggs, you're a hard grader. So, I mean,
I guess so.
this is perfect. All right. Shall we move on to Learn to Fly?
Yeah.
Here we go. That, of course, is the cover of Learning to Fly by the Cesena, the town of Cesena, Italy. Have you seen this thing?
Oh, yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, so in 2015, July 30th, 2015, a video was published on YouTube of 1,000 Italians, 1,000 Italian musicians in Cesena, all playing and singing the song in unison, followed by a plea for the Foo Fighters to come and play a concert in Cesena. Pretty cool.
And then they did. it.
And then,
right?
then Dave Grohl's like, okay, we're going to make this happen. And then I think within a few months, November 3rd, 2015.
Yeah.
So, 4 months
Couple
later.
months later, yeah.
They just play a gig for 3,000 people in their town. Like, that's amazing.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, Dave Grohl's probably one of the coolest dudes out there.
I think so.
Everyone like who doesn't like Dave Grohl? Even if you don't like the Foo Fighters music, like you got to like Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
He's one of the coolest dudes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Foo Fighters, probably the last great rock band. Like, are there any other rock bands?
That's a great question. And I was wrestling with that as well because they have had, they're almost like under the radar though because of because it's not rock, like we're not in a rock time period, right?
Right.
But yet
they've been described as kind of like a more modern version of like Tom Petty. Consistent hit makers who crank out pretty good working class tunes or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
That was one take I saw on it. But I think the comparison to Tom Petty is pretty apt.
I think that's
like
a good one.
There's always a few big hits on every one of their albums. They have a ton of good songs, cool people, great musicians. Sad about Taylor Hawkins passing a couple of years ago.
I know. Rough. Yeah.
But back in 1999, when this came out, they were still pretty young and fresh faces. You must have watched the video. This is a pretty famous video. I think the video won a Grammy.
Oh, it did. Yep, it did for best short form video or something.
Yeah,
Yep, it did.
That's what it was.
Yeah, the video's amazing. It's hilarious.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's Dave Grohl flirting with himself in track is amazing.
I mean, they were kind of known for their really high quality, fun and funny videos too.
Yeah,
like they had the Mentos parody video.
That's right.
And this one is great because it's on a plane. I guess kind of low hanging fruit.
Yeah, right.
But it's a parody of like Airplane and all those airplane disaster movies.
Yeah.
But it's the Foo Fighters playing a bunch of different characters on the film. So the real Foo Fighters are on the flight.
Right.
But they're also like the captain and Dave Grohl's playing the flight attendant, and then Dave Grohl plays like a giant fat person in a fat suit, and then he plays like a young girl fan with braces, and Taylor Hawkins plays like the sexy stewardess
with like cleavage too, and he's checking. He's checking himself out.
Right, it's pretty funny. Funny. It was really fun. And the whole video starts off with Tenacious D.
Yep,
of course, longtime friends of Dave Grohl. He played drums on the Tenacious D albums.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
He's on their album. He played the devil in their movie. They're buddies.
That's right.
So the video starts off with Tenacious D spiking the coffee pot with world domination brand erotic sleeping powder. That's what they put in there.
Cocaine, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. No, it's sleeping powder.
Well, I mean, people were not falling asleep.
No, well, because it's erotic sleeping powder.
Oh, okay, so it keeps you awake.
Yeah.
And
it does what it did in that video. I know that much.
People were tripping.
But yeah, of course, the disaster happens on the plane because everyone's drinking the coffee, the tainted coffee. But the real Foo Fighters, of course, declined to drink it.
Yeah, they got their own thing. They're drinking their alcohol.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Probably. So they, in the end of the video, have to go up to the front and land the plane.
Yeah, and the takeoff is a shot by shot, like exactly the same as the takeoff in Airplane 2.
Right.
So they mimicked it exactly.
Yeah. It was an homage to those airplane disaster movies. But it's a really funny video, very memorable in a time when videos were still reasonably popular.
Yeah, I think, but
I remember the video, from back
absolutely.
in the day. Like, I was surprised at how much of the video I remembered once it was on.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, I probably saw it 1,000 times. I mean,
Totally.
yeah, probably late stage videos when it stopped.
Absolutely.
Where MTV is starting to go more towards reality television, and you're not seeing as much.
They're already well on their way, but they also had like M2, if you remember the other.
Oh yeah, I forgot about M2.
And that one, M2 showed exclusively videos,
Right.
which is what MTV originally did. But by that point, there was not much in the way of videos on regular MTV. You'd have to go to M2 to see it.
Is it surprising that bands are still making videos like that? I mean, I guess it just goes to YouTube,
because
right?
YouTube's on there. I think it makes a lot of sense. It makes more sense now.
Yeah.
There was kind of a lull period where it didn't make any sense to make a video because how would people consume it?
Yeah, where would you put it?
They weren't showing it on MTV. There wasn't a YouTube yet at that time, in like the 2000 aughts.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, everyone's making a video, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
I like the video format.
Yeah, I do too. It's good. Yeah, it's entertaining, and also I think it anchors the song in your head too, because you've got the visual to go along with it. Like, I'll always remember the song because of the song, but also because of the plane video. You asked though if they're the last sort of great rock band, and maybe they are, because it has been 20 something years at this point, right?
Yeah, the song is 25 years old.
The song is
1999.
It's 25 years old, right? And so then they've been doing it for almost 30 years then, right? Because it would have been,
correct.
He started, first album was like 94, probably released in 95, 05, 15, 20. Yeah, so we're like 29 years in for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was writing those songs while Nirvana was still there, or still around. And then pretty shortly after Cobain's death, he went and recorded.
It's kind of like a catharsis, I think.
It was. Yeah, he went on a little road
trip. The first
trip.
album was 95.
Okay, 95, right. So, yeah.
So this is their
30 years.
third album. This was There Is Nothing Left to Lose. Actually, this song was released as a single first, standalone single, but also on There's Nothing Left to Lose.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a cool album for Foo Fighters. They had some lineup changes, and this is when they gelled on the core of Dave Grohl, Nate Mendel on bass, and then Taylor Hawkins on drums, and Dave Grohl bought a house in Virginia, and they recorded this album in the basement of the house.
Yeah.
He said, like, literally there was like sleeping bags attached to the walls of the basement, and they were just drinking beer and grilling burgers and recording when
music?
they felt like it.
That sounds like
pretty
fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Invite me over, Dave Grohl.
Yeah, exactly.
But are they? Maybe they are, because they also have won. I know that the award has only been around for something like 30 years, but they've won 5 best rock album Grammys of the last 30.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
they're the only ones. They win it every time they put out an album, I think.
Yeah. So because who else is out there? We talked about Greta Van Fleet on a show that we did not too long ago, and
not my band. I don't enjoy that band.
Not my band, but they've won, I think, 2.
They're popular, I guess. Yeah. But is that just because there's no other rock bands?
There's just not a lot.
You got to give it to someone.
Yeah, there's not a lot. I don't even know all the artists that were on there. U2 won a couple times. I mean, yeah, they're just not a lot. Yeah,
sure, but they're a legacy band also.
They're a legacy, and even a longer legacy than
totally.
Yeah.
I mean, Foo Fighters is a legacy band at this point too.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they're the last big band from the quote unquote rock era.
Right. Yeah, maybe.
That's what I think anyways. I don't know who else, because rock is not popular anymore.
It's not. No.
It still exists, and there's plenty of great music. I mean, there always will be, but in popular music, rock is not popular.
No, it's not. No, so they probably are. I mean, at least because they've got the combination of the critical acclaim and like the album sales. To have that combination there, it just isn't a lot like that.
And
I think Tom Petty's
depth of discography.
And the depth of discography. Yeah, I think Tom Petty's probably and the Heartbreakers is probably a good comp in that way too, because he's also critically acclaimed but sold a bunch of records. So
and when you go back through, similar to Tom Petty, if you go back through his catalog, you're like, oh, I know that song, I know that song. Suddenly you're at like 30 Tom Petty songs that everyone knows.
Right.
And I was looking through Foo Fighters hits, and it's a ton of songs also that everyone knows.
Yeah,
and this is one of them.
This is one of them.
This is a good song.
It is a good song. So so I would right. How I feel about the song. I'm not the biggest Foo Fighters guy, and it's like I respect them. I respect them, and I think they do a good job and they write good songs. It's not necessarily my vibe. It's not like what I'm looking for.
Totally.
There are some that I love, like of course Everlong, My Hero. Those are fun. I love those songs. Like those are
great.
Those
songs.
are top tier songs. Also, there's a song Rope that's more recent. Do you know that one? Such a great.
Oh yeah,
love the shit out of that song.
Yeah.
But this is a good song. Like this is just a good like straight, maybe one of their most straight ahead rock songs in terms of verse chorus. Like a lot of times they'll do like an interesting verse and then the chorus will be like 1 4 5. It wouldn't be like that, but very kind of down the middle.
No, but kind of straightforward.
Very straightforward. Where this is like a very cohesive. The whole thing is pretty straightforward.
Blocked out. This song has a cool bridge though.
It does, yeah. Yeah, it does. But yeah, so I just think it's like one of their most cohesive, like good songs. Not my favorite, but I think it's a good one and I like it.
Yeah. Agreed. This is their first song on the Hot 100.
That's what I saw too. It was like it went to like 17. I don't know what their second
19, I think.
Or 19. I don't know what their second one was, but there was one that charted higher than like they're always good in the,
I think that was that Big Me? That might have been Big Me.
No, because this is the first one. This one was the first one.
Oh, this is the first one. Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, that was before.
Yeah, Big Me's on the first album, so
right. That's the one with the Mentos video.
I think so. Is that the one? I know the song, but I can't remember I'm not picturing the video to it. But yeah, that makes sense. But they had a song after this that hit somewhere higher on the charts. But they were always on the rock charts. They were always on the alternative charts. Yeah, it's just crossing over to the Billboard Hot 100 didn't happen as much, which seems weird because on all the radio stations that I was listening to, they were being played on. Like
totally.
But I wasn't listening to the pop stations as much at this point in my life.
I mean, this song also did well on the Airplay radio songs chart too.
Yeah, that's right.
So it was definitely played in heavy rotation.
Dave Grohl inducted into the Hall of Fame twice already.
Man.
Both of them, because Foo Fighters get in their first year of eligibility in 2021. Right. So, and then he's already in there for Nirvana. And crazy.
Well, well-deserved, I say. I'm a big Dave Grohl fan.
I think he's awesome.
I like Dave Grohl more than I like the Foo Fighters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's a killer drummer. He's one of the best in the game. He's amazing. Whenever he shows up on an album playing drums, you can hear it. It sounds like Dave Grohl. Yeah. You know, it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy, and he's funny, and he seems like he just loves life and loves doing his thing.
I want to hang out with him. I would love to hang out with Dave Grohl.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl is cool as hell.
Yeah, he seems like he tries to do the right thing and tries to be a good guy. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you this though.
Yeah.
Do you think who is more important to rock and roll, Kurt Cobain or Dave Grohl?
Kurt Cobain.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a hard question.
Really?
Yeah. Tell me why.
Well, would you first of all, would you have Dave Grohl's other career if he wasn't in Nirvana? I would say probably not.
Ugh. Yeah.
Would there be a Foo Fighters without Nirvana? And also Nirvana kind of changed the game. I mean, Kurt Cobain, I think, is a better songwriter than Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
I think he has more lasting influence on people, although Dave Grohl has way more tunes, and they're all good, and he sold more albums, presumably, or whatever. Made a shitload of money. But from like an influence perspective, I think it's got to be Kurt Cobain.
I have a hard time with it just because of the longevity of Grohl. He's just been doing it for so long. Okay, you asked that first question.
I agree.
That.
Yeah.
Let me ask that. Okay. You asked whether he would have Foo Fighters if not for Nirvana. Well, he was in a band before that was like a touring band. It didn't, I can't remember the name of it, but he was performing, and so maybe I know he was shy about his songwriting and guitar playing and singing, and it took Cobain to like hear him and say, oh man, that's pretty cool, and like work on some songs with him.
Sure. Well, Grohl also cites Cobain as an influence on, he learned how to write better songs from being around Cobain.
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah,
I feel like Dave Grohl might have just been the drummer in bands. You know what I mean? It would probably be like, oh, Dave Grohl's playing drums with yada yada band. Kind of like maybe like a Josh Freese who ended up taking over for Taylor Hawkins at Foo Fighters.
That's true.
Just an awesome drummer who like session guy who plays on cool albums. I don't know if he would be a front man. He certainly got the personality for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he's a great guitar player too.
Super charismatic. Absolutely. Great guitar player.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting take on how he thinks of guitar. I don't know if you've seen this video where he talks about it. He plays guitar like he's playing drums. He thinks of like the thicker strings on the guitar as kind of like the kick drum, and the thinner strings as the snare. So he can do like a boom chuck on the guitar. Right. Like he plays the drum part on the guitar is how he thinks of it, or used to anyways. I don't know if he still does.
Interesting.
But I thought that was kind of a cool take.
I think your question of whether there would be a Foo Fighters if not a Nirvana, I think that's a good one. That's a very compelling argument that I didn't think of, because I really am stuck between, you had Cobain, but he's 3 years, like really 3 years, and then it's done. You know what I mean? Whereas Grohl's been around for 30, and he's now in two of the most influential bands in rock and roll, kind of. I mean, Foo Fighters, as much as rock and roll is not popular, has still influenced generations.
They endure,
of new musicians who love them and love his songwriting. So now Nirvana did the same thing, and that was more about Kurt than it was about Grohl. But I don't know. But anyway, so that's why it's a hard question for me. I think you definitely get a very quick burst that's lasting from Kirk, but you don't. But it was a
very big burst. I feel like kind of knocked the doors off the whole industry. Like before Nirvana, it was like Warrant Cherry Pie and hair metal and all that. You know what I mean? Like it was just such a sea change in music, and it allowed for a ton of other bands to come out of that. Would
that scene have come forward? Would Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, all of them have come forward? Would we still have grunge without Nirvana? Is it Nirvana really paved that way?
I think you would still have grunge. I think so. Because I mean, Pearl Jam, all those other, like,
they're all
the
great.
scene was popping, and someone's got to be first, and someone's got to blow the doors out. And the brightest shining star did it, right? Like Nirvana's really excellent band.
Yeah.
Excellent songs, excellent vibe. Like everything about it is really good. So it makes sense. But I mean, I think the grunge scene still definitely would have happened. It might not have reached the same heights without Nirvana, but I mean, I think it probably still would have been popular music at the time, because people were craving a change after like Warrant Cherry Pie and all of that kind of thing.
Yes, yeah, they were, and maybe you would, so you may not have the same reach without Nirvana because Nevermind sells 30 million copies and is worldwide. Sure. Maybe it doesn't have the same. Jeremy's pretty popular, and 10 was pretty popular, but didn't quite reach the heights.
The thing with Nirvana too is record execs realize they have no idea what's going to be popular, right? So they are way more willing to take a chance on a number of bands. So like after Nirvana, like Sonic Youth got on a major label. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people got major label deals as a result of that. Yeah. Thereby, getting the music out to a wider audience. So I definitely think Nirvana's more influential than Foo Fighters.
Okay, and then Cobain more. But now I'm not asking that, because I believed. So I would answer it that way too. I would say Nirvana more influential than Foo Fighters, but just Grohl versus Cobain. That's where I have a harder time. I think I'm leaning. I think you're convincing me, and I think I'm leaning in the direction of Cobain being more influential. I still
think it's Cobain, even though Dave Grohl is very heavily embedded in culture.
Absolutely. Okay,
and rightly so, because he's awesome.
It's a harder question than I would have thought, though, because my first instinct would be like Cobain. But then if I thought about it, it took a little bit of getting back and forth there. But okay. Great. Yeah, anything else? So I don't like this album's okay. I think it's pretty good. I like Color and the Shape better. That's just I think maybe just also time of life when I was starting to hear that stuff. And I love those two. So I love My Hero and Everlong so much. But,
totally.
But still not bad. And they always have like good stuff. They're always good. It's always good writing.
There's always at least a couple of really good songs on their albums. This one had some other singles too. There's Nothing Left to Lose is the album title. Stacked Actors, that was a single. I remember that one. Breakout, that's a good song. Breakout's good. Yeah, I think those were the three bigger singles. I don't know if there were others besides that.
Yeah.
But Learn to Fly, of course, was the biggest hit on that album.
I really like, there was another one on this. No, I can't. Live in Skin is the other one that I really liked from this album too. I don't know if you can pull it, but I was listening to the album today. I was like, oh, I really like that one. That's a great one too. Yeah,
I don't remember that one offhand.
I think it had, you're right. It had a bunch of singles. They didn't stay with me like Learn to Fly did.
Right. I remember those other two, Stacked Actors and Breakout.
Yeah.
I definitely, I hadn't listened to this in forever, and I was listening to some of it earlier, and I was like, oh, definitely remember that one. Definitely remember that one. And then I started going through the catalog, like I was talking about, like compared to Tom Petty, and listened. I'm like, oh man, they have a lot of songs that were popular.
Grohl almost joined Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Yeah. I heard
died.
about. Yeah. And then he didn't really want to just be the drummer in a band forever, which probably he would have been relegated to had he not stepped out and done his own thing.
He said he went for a drive. He was going to go like cross country or something, and he saw a hitchhiker and thought about picking him up, but noticed his shirt was a Kurt Cobain shirt, and he was like, "That's my sign. I need to go do my thing. I guess."
Got to do his thing.
Went back home and recorded.
He did it excellently.
He did.
The first Foo Fighters album is really cool, and it's a cool moment in history. Like he played all the instruments on it.
So good.
It's kind of weird sounding. It's kind of like band past sort of sound. It's not super hi-fi, which I like. But the songs are really good.
They are.
This album, There's Nothing Left to Lose. The production's awesome.
It is really good.
Mixed by Andy Wallace, mastered by Bob Ludwig. What are you gonna do? Of course, it's gonna sound good.
Yeah. Their albums tend to sound good too.
Yeah, totally.
Like that song "Rope" is phenomenally produced. It is such a great song. Or "All My Life," that song, I love that video too. That goes like red and black, with the shadows and stuff. So good. Their albums sound great. Like they do a really good job there. I mean, Grohl's phenomenal. Like he's just one of those musicians too. Yes, he's famous. Totally. Yes, he's sold a lot of albums, but the dude can write. The dude can play everything. Yeah. The dude knows how to record. Like he's one of those guys. And
he knows how to make movies now too. I mean, the Sound City movie that he did was awesome. He's awesome. I'm a big Grohl fan.
Big Grohl fan. This time in music is a little bit tough though. I've covered on Quantum Week. We covered this before. It was actually our first show ever. We did Y2K basically. We did like the last week in 1999.
Oh, okay.
And it's kind of the same music that's at the top of the charts because we're not that far off. We're a month off here. So number one right now is "Smooth," that shit song from that shit guitarist known as Santana, featuring Rob Thomas. But you also have I covered that already. Song sucks, of course. "Satisfy You," which is Puff Daddy and R. Kelly, two of the worst human beings together.
Man, that song didn't age well.
Didn't age well. Mambo number 5 is number 3 right now. A little. I mean, it's crappy, but it's definitely catchy. Oh, it's so bad. You got
out of the songs you just talked about, Mambo number 5 is my favorite.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You got that "Steal My Sunshine," which I have a soft spot for. That's Len.
That was a pretty good song. That was kind of a one-hit wonder sort of band.
Yeah, right. And then you got "Someday," Sugar Ray at number 12, which I have a soft spot in my heart for Sugar Ray.
It's fine.
Yeah. I mean,
not my favorite, but whatever.
Spot,
they're fine. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I feel like they do better than they should. Like they're not talented, but they do better. Like they write better songs than they really are. And then let's see. You got "Scar Tissue" is at number 17. So the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So there's some stuff that's okay. I don't love that song, but it's an okay song.
That's not one of their best. Yeah.
No, I mean, for me, like anything not Blood Sugar Sex Magic, I'm not really playing, but
right on.
But a little bit of a tough like time period, tough month.
It was a rough year for popular music, 99, 2000, 2001, like that. Around then, it was pretty rough. Yeah, and you got like the new metal stuff kind of happening too, which but also like boy bands were big too, So for popular music was not very good around 2000.
Not very good at all. Anything else you want to talk about with Foo Fighters and Learn to Fly, or should we go on to headlines?
Yeah, headlines.
I brought some headlines. Did you bring any? I
did not. I forgot.
No worries.
Right on.
I mean, I got us covered.
Cool.
I got
Thank
2.
you. I appreciate it.
The first one is Andrea Bocelli released Sacred Arias, which is his 5th album and became the best-selling classical album of all time. 5 million copies. Crazy. What do you know him at all? Like I have some.
I mean, I know the name, but I'm not super familiar.
I don't think he's that good. I mean, he's got kind of a weak voice. He's all right. He's got kind of a weak voice. He has a hard time with breath support. I don't, a lot of people older than us kind of like him. They think he's charming. I think he's blind too. So there's, I don't know. Maybe that's more endearing. I'm not sure.
Could be.
But I don't love the guy. But yeah, 5 million copies for that album.
Crazy. That's a lot.
That's a lot. Second one. This is a weird one. It's the first internet conspired murder on record on November 8th, 1999. So you got this woman, her name is Sherry Miller. She's a pretty young woman at the time, but she has 3 kids and she's divorced. And she's hired by this guy named Bruce Miller. Well, she's not Miller at the time, but anyway, Bruce Miller, he's got some sort of, I don't know if it's like auto repair or like dump with those places that you can go where you have like all the auto yards where you can go and peel.
Junkyard.
Is that's the word I'm looking for?
Scrapyard, junkyard. Yeah.
Yes, whatever. He's got a scrapyard and he hires her as his bookkeeper. One thing leads to another and they get married.
Okay.
At the time, though, and before they get married, he introduces her to the internet. She'd never been on before, but she needed that for like bookkeeping and for parts and supplies and things. So
still relatively new at the time, the internet.
Yeah, relatively. I think I had the internet.
If you were an older person, I mean, if you were in college or something at the time, you had internet, but it wasn't like
ubiquitous like it is today.
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you knew Junkyard, I knew Ubiquitous, so this is why we're
there you go.
But anyway, introduced her to the internet, and she finds chat rooms and chats it up with this guy named Jerry Cassidy, and they like form a relationship. And so she uses like cover of I think she has a makeup business. She uses cover of like having to go away for makeup business to go visit him in Reno. They have an affair. For some reason, I think because this woman is a nutbag, she convinces Jerry Cassidy that her husband, Bruce Miller, is abusive, part of the mob, abuses her kids, and gets him worked up over a course of a couple months, and they conspire to have him killed, Bruce killed. So Jerry Cassidy, I think he's a former cop, but he has some other business at this point, drives to, I think, where is she, in like Missouri or something, to his place of work, to Bruce Miller's place of work, shoots him with a shotgun, and then goes away. Initially, they think it's a robbery. The cops think it's a robbery. But what happens is Sherry gets tired of Jerry Cassidy and moves on to another dude. And they're, dating this other dude. Jerry Cassidy breaks his heart, realizes that she's kind of used him to kill her husband, and then dumps him. So he kills himself. But instructs his brother that in case anything happens to him, I've got this briefcase under my bed. Hey, listen, not saying anything's going to happen to me, but just in case, I got this briefcase under my bed. Open it up and do what you will with the contents. Okay. Kills himself, but in the briefcase is all of this damning material that should like printouts from their correspondence, all sorts of stuff showing that they conspired to kill Bruce. And brother gets it to the cops. They go and arrest her. She goes on trial and she goes to prison for life for conspiracy to commit murder on her husband. But she denies she does it for 17 years.
Whoa.
Finally, I think because she's trying to get parole. Because she's got, I think maybe she's got 55 years or something. She's got a long, what amounts to a life sentence, but there is a chance of parole. So I think because of that, she admits to killing her husband and, but they haven't let her out yet. She's still in prison. So that is the story of Sherry Miller and her, conspiring on the internet to kill her husband. Huh. Those are the headlines. That's what happened in this time period. Nice. Yeah, funny days where you get, movies with very strange emails of death threats that have to like load with like
line by line.
And like red flashing background. So weird to see that stuff. I'm gonna have to watch Virtuosity though and see if that holds up. I'm sure it doesn't. But I guess that's what I got for what's going on for the show. Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, that's it for me.
Okay, we haven't picked a new. We get to maybe introduce on the show when we do the next week, but we haven't picked it yet. So maybe in the next show we'll start picking early, so we kind of know where we're going and what we're doing.
Oh, okay, right.
Tell people. But I have no idea at this point, and you don't. So
either.
we can't announce it.
No.
But I think that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Oh, I did want to say this. So if you're listening to this tomorrow night, I do spaces after every episode. I do a spaces the next day, so Thursday evening, to talk about other pop culture stuff from this time period or this movie. Or if you watched this movie and you want to talk about your thoughts on it, tell us why you think we were wrong or right about something. I'd love to hear that. So join me Thursday nights on X. I do a space, formerly Twitter, and we'll talk about this stuff, pop culture, all that, and that's it. So I guess we're good?
Yeah.
We're good. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been Quantum Week. We will catch you next time. Goodbye.